Hello there, and welcome back to the Net Report. Chris here, and today I'm joined with my podcast partner Tarique, and it's finally here. Football is finally back. We're here to cover all the Week 1 action, and we're going to dive into every game and give our analysis and our takes on it. Tarique, it's finally back. Football season's here.
I'm not bored anymore. Football's back.
It's been
I've
a
been
long...
sitting here watching baseball. I love baseball, but it gets boring after a few innings.
I'm happy it's back, and we're gonna get just right into it. We're gonna start with the Jets versus the Bills. Oh man, this game, it almost feels like the actual gameplay of the game doesn't really matter because we all know what happened. Aaron Rodgers unfortunately tore his Achilles. It's now been confirmed as of about an hour ago, I want to say, right? It was confirmed by Schefter.
It was most definitely confirmed like an hour ago.
So,
bro, I was barely watching it. I was at work, and then all of a sudden I started driving home, and it was pouring rain, so I had the game just playing. I had the game playing, and I had to mute the group chat because you guys would not shut up. I was like, please stop talking. I just want to watch the game on my phone. Like, it was just message after message. I was like, great, I can't see the top of my screen half the time.
But yeah, the New York Jets beat the Buffalo Bills 22-16. But the biggest story here, of course, is Aaron Rodgers' Achilles injury. He's out the season, and this Jets team's going to be led by Zach Wilson, and it's just tough. I feel for Jets fans 100%. It's rough. They finally had hope at QB for the first time in what feels like 40, 50 years, and it was just taken away after 4 snaps. He played 4 snaps. Just unfortunate for Jets fans. I feel for them.
Oh, well, most definitely unfortunate. But you know who's still on the board for them to get? Ben DiNucci.
Oh my goodness, chill.
They're going to grab someone. There's no doubt, but it depends on who they're really going to look into grab. Because I know they're not going to rely the rest of their season on Zach Wilson. Let's be real here. Zach Wilson did come out. He had a few good plays, but he wasn't really doing what they needed as a quarterback.
He didn't look particularly great. He did enough for them to win, but that was a really bad pick. Only 140 yards, 1 touchdown, and that 1 touchdown was an insane grab from Garrett Wilson. I mean, one of the best catches I've seen in a long time. It already is a candidate for catch of the year, and it's only week 1, so that's crazy. The Bills did not look particularly great. Josh Allen threw 3 picks, all to Jordan Whitehead too, which is crazy. A 3 interception game in the first game of the season is wild, but it feels like all the top QBs had a really slow week 1, and Josh Allen was no different. Like I said, 3 picks. The Bills offense really couldn't get going just because he was constantly slinging it to the other team. He has that gunslinger mentality, but
that's all he was doing was throwing punts.
Yeah.
It was 3rd down, and he was like, yeah, let me just throw the punt. I was just watching it in awe. This is not the Josh Allen everyone knew from years before. But as said before, not on the podcast, but as said before, the Madden curse.
Yeah, the Madden curse. It's only week 1. It's week 1 overreactions. Let's put that out there. That's probably going to be the title of this podcast, honestly. Week 1 overreactions. Josh Allen doesn't look good. He was Manny's pick to win the MVP, and it's not looking good so far. So we'll see. I feel like there's not much more to get into here. They played down to their competition. The Jets defense looked phenomenal.
Let's not skip over this. That punt return at the end? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy. There was definitely that illegal chop block, I want to say it, or whatever it was called, at the 25-yard line that would have brought it back a bit, but even still, man, to even let it get to that is just crazy.
But it would have been the point that they would have had the chance to get a field goal right there, if anything.
I think they would have been brought back 10, 15 yards, so they probably would have needed first down to really get super close.
They would have just gave it. If I was the Jets, it would have just been Breece Hall's 4 downs. That's all it would have been.
Speaking of Breece Hall looked phenomenal coming off that ACL. 10 rushes for 127 yards. I had him on my fantasy team. I expected him to start off slow. Not even close. He had that 83-yard run in, I want to say, the second quarter. And he probably could have taken it at the house if it was pre-injury.
He never got hurt. He looked like he never got hurt running like that.
Just that back duo of Dalvin Cook and Brees Hall is going to be insane, which just makes me so much more upset for the Rodgers injury, because if Rodgers had had those weapons and you had that amazing backfield, the sky was the limit for this team. And we're
Oh, most
even
definitely. They had such an explosive offense. It was right there. It was given to him. If he never got hurt, Rodgers had weapons to throw to. He could have even just tossed it off to the side, like, here, just go run the ball.
it's unfortunate because I was really high on this Jets team going in, and obviously with Zach Wilson, I mean, they can still win some games and be interesting, but let's keep it real. They're not going to be playoff contenders. Maybe Zach Wilson revives his career slightly, but like not to the point where they're actually contenders. I mean, I would be genuinely shocked if that was the case. So it
They're
just
only gonna be they're gonna be as far as their defense could carry them.
this team is young, and they really seemed like they had added the extra veteran pieces like Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb to really take that next step. And even on defense, like Quentin Williams looked amazing yesterday. Obviously, like I said, Whitehead had the 3 picks. Sauce Gardner looked great in coverage too against Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs got his towards the later of the game, but Sauce Gardner still looked great as well. You had other guys like John Franklin Myers with a sack. I mean, this defense was really ready for prime time, and it just sucks that it all feels like it's for nothing now.
No, most definitely. But hold on, before we get off of this topic, Garrett Wilson's catch in the touchdown. Oh my God, that focus to reel that in, amazing.
Like I said, it has the potential to be a catch of the year. I really like this offense going in, and without Rodgers, it's just it's a bummer. I know I keep circling back around to that, not to keep it depressing, but I do want to circle back to the Bills real quick before we leave. Like I said, Josh Allen just didn't have a good game. The run game was actually kind of decent or not decent. It was okay. It looked better than it has before, which isn't really saying much, but I'm not out on this team yet. I think they'll be fine. Like, it's week 1. Let's not overreact. They'll still probably be an elite team. Like, it took Josh Allen throwing 3 picks to barely lose. So, I mean, we'll see going forward how it goes. But it's not boding well for his MVP chances, like so many were thinking.
It's not going well at all. You know what's also sad? You know what's really sad?
Oh, no, here we go.
I'm looking at it. Tied for the second most receptions on the Jets team. On the Jets team was a defensive player.
Oh, yes. I did see
had
that.
3 interceptions.
I thought you were going to move on to the next game, but no.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
definitely.
I'll move on to that in a second. I don't want to move on to that. But Garrett Wilson had 5. Tied for second with Dalvin Cook was Jordan Whitehead. He was catching for the other team.
Like I say, he kept punting it to Jordan Whitehead. It was crazy, but crazy win for the Jets. Excited for them, but hey, I guess I'm not excited for them. I take that back, but because they have Zach Wilson now. But hey, I mean, going forward, I think the Bills will be fine. Yeah, let's see what Zach Wilson can do. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I'll let you move on to the next game because I know this is gonna be your topic.
No. Giants lost. That's all I have to say. Next game.
All right. I'll get into it a little more because the Cowboys defeat the Giants 40-0.
This was not the word.
They destroyed them. It was a slobber knocker, as Jim Ross would say.
They straight up demolished this team. They bent them over backwards. Bro, I don't understand.
It was just a crazy showing from the defense of the Cowboys. I mean, Micah Parsons looked unstoppable off the edge. I saw a stat. I don't remember. I think it was you who sent it to me. There were like 8 pressures between.
It was me.
Yes, there were
8 pressures from one player. 9 from another. That right side was collapsed.
Yep, Evan Neal and remind me again who's the right guard for them. That right side. Just.
Yes,
awful.
Evan Neal and Mark Lewinsky.
Yes. Just complete turnstiles.
How does our rookie center do better than you guys? And he botched off a snap at the beginning of the game. Don't even get me started on that. How do you botch off a snap when you're in the red zone, either about to score or get a field goal? You botch it and you got to lose another like 5 yards.
It was the defense combined with the ineptitude of the Giants O-line. It was a rough day. I mean, like I said, Parsons looked unstoppable. You had a couple
Daniel Jones
picks.
sacked 7 times.
Like Gilmore had a pick too. It was there. There's not much to talk about here. Even the Cowboys didn't look particularly great on offense because, well, they didn't really have to be. I mean, the Giants dug themselves in a 16-point hole in the first quarter. So
When
it's
they say defense wins championships, that they took it to heart.
Mhm. And
They took it to heart.
I mean, it's game one. You don't want to overreact, like I said, but
I am overreacting.
this Giants team looks really rough. I'm not sure about Daniel Jones as the future, but whew, man.
I can't blame Daniel Jones.
I
He
mean, I
had no
can't.
time.
You're right.
He was running for his life.
I'm not gonna fully put the blame on him, but man, when you combine that with the O line, it's just rough.
Like that O line gave Daniel Jones probably like what 1 or 2 times to show what he could do, and when he did do that, the receivers were dropping the ball.
So I
I remember
mean,
Jalen Hyatt got hit in the hands and he dropped. Was it Jalen? No, I don't think it was Jalen. It was someone else. Someone got hit in the hands once Daniel finally got time to throw, and they dropped it.
hmm I I didn't get to catch most of this game because I was driving home, but I know you unfortunately watched a big chunk of it.
Watched the
I'm
whole game. I put myself through the pain. I wanted to see a touchdown, and I didn't get that.
You're a true fan. You're a trooper, man. I got to give you that. But
I sat there with my Dexter Lawrence jersey watching this whole game. I cried on the inside.
maybe a little on the outside too. It's okay. We've all been there.
It was horrible. I was next to 2 Cowboys fans.
Oh, that's rough. That is rough. I will give you that.
And the thing is, they weren't even watching the game the whole part of the time. They would look at their phone, look up. Oh, another one? Yeah, thanks, guys.
But yeah, I guess closing notes here. Dallas defense looks great. The Giants O line not great, but I mean, I like I said, I expect this Cowboys defense to be top three probably going into the season. We'll have to see if it continues going forward in the next few matchups because my
I
goodness,
got hit with
if it's anything like this game, whoever's playing the Cowboys are in for a long season. But
I got hit with a Weedham boys.
we'll move on.
Go to the next team,
Yeah, we'll move on to
please.
the Packers and Bears. And this was an interesting game because we finally got to see Jordan Love in it's not his first start, or I don't think it's his first start, but we're
I
finally
think it
seeing
was his
him
first.
as it was. Okay, I know he's been in games before. I don't know if it's his first start or not,
No,
but
I think it's first start.
he looked great though. He threw 15 for 27, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he just looked poised throughout the whole game. He was without Christian Watson as well. Aaron Jones looked phenomenal. He looked like he really turned back the clock. A lot of people were thinking AJ Dillon's really going to come in and take that role. He had over like 120 yards from scrimmage. He had like 86 reception yards. I think he had one large receiving touchdown. It was impressive from Jordan Love and the Packers. I mean, the Bears, you saw, I mean, it didn't look great for Fields in his first game of the season. Had a pick. I mean, like I said, the Green Bay Packers, they just continue the beatdown. They continue beating down the Bears.
Jordan Love most definitely showed out for his first game. It was all gas, no breaks for him. I think they scored in every quarter.
Yes, I'm looking at it. There was a score in every quarter, and they really piled it on towards the end, too. I mean, and I know everyone keeps talking about this. Did Green Bay really luck into a third? Like, and it's way too early. Week one overreactions. Did they look into a third really great quarterback? I'm not going to say potential Hall of Famer because that's just way too, but like, did they look into a third quarterback in a row that could be really good for them? I mean, Brett Favre,
Yeah, third
Aaron
quarterback
Rodgers.
that'll lead one ring and then be done.
Hey, man. I mean, I'm sure they'd take a ring with Jordan Love if that's what it means. I mean,
No, most definitely. But before we hop off of this game, we still got to talk about that pick six by Quay Walker. That was something.
yeah.
I was, I turned on the game towards the end because I was watching I was watching another game, the Chargers game,
Mhm.
which we'll get to in a little bit. But I turned on this game. All of a sudden, I see Justin Fields throws the ball. Quay Walker was already sitting in that zone, so he should have never even thought about throwing that ball. But Quay Walker catches it, starts running. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, he's about to get tackled. No, he bounces off, acts like it never happens, and runs.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, hopefully it's the start of a bounce back season for him because, man, Packers fans were lighting into him last year. Just, if there was a Packer that fans hated the most, it was probably Quay Walker. So maybe it's the start of something there for him, you know? Maybe it's the start of him turning the corner.
Great way to start off.
Yes, sir. But we'll move out. We'll move off of this game, and we'll move on to one of the more exciting games from this weekend. Uh, Chargers versus Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins defeat the Chargers 36-24, and wow, this was a shootout.
No, it was all offense this game. Let's be real about that. It was
Mm-hmm.
an offensive game.
Yeah.
Of course, the first quarter didn't really start off very doing much. Like we had a couple 1 or 2 yard runs by Austin Eckler and Raheem Mostert, but after that, it was shootout after shootout.
I'm looking at the box score here. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa had 466 yards, 3 TDs. But Tyreek Hill, my goodness, 11 receptions for 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had that nasty grab, like, over another defender, if I remember
Oh yeah.
correctly. Uh,
No, Tua threw that ball so perfectly into the
hmm
end zone.
And
Oh my gosh.
it's just, and I feel like a lot of people kind of forgot about the Dolphins going into the season just because it's like, the AFC's loaded, they'll be okay, but they won't be all that, especially because people are very much like, yeah, Tui's always injured, he's a ticking time bomb, but like when Tua's healthy, this receiving core is insane. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this. Isn't a quarterback that's like he doesn't necessarily have the throw power. He's not gonna typically like sling it super downfield. I mean, he had a couple nice throws, don't get me wrong, throughout this game, but man, at any moment, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle come break off, take a 5 yard pass, break it off for 80, and just he loves those two targets. So the the,
Does
the
and
offense can look very good this year, especially if Tua finally stays healthy. I feel like a lot of people weren't kind of had them as afterthoughts going into the season.
no, most definitely. And Tyreek, especially calling out his saying, "I'm gonna have a 2,000 yard receiving year." Well, starting off with something like this, you most definitely will might. Well, no, if
Exactly.
you say on this average, you most definitely will hit probably 3,000 yards if you keep going like this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not going to keep this pace, but man, I mean, starting off with 215, that's a great start if you're trying to, I mean, 17 game season, it's very
Like
possible.
if we're doing week one overreactions, these two people, Tua and Tyreek, have my top three votes for MVP after this.
Definitely week one. I can agree with that. Week one MVPs, they both looked great. And if the Dolphins win 10, 11 games and Tyreek has 2,000 yards or Tua throws for 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, and they're looking really good, it's very possible he's in the conversation. As for the Chargers, it's just another game. Like I said, I know you saw more of the game, so maybe you can elaborate more on this. I saw a lot of people complaining about Staley's kind of decisions towards the end, which kind of cost the Chargers a little bit. What did you see anything really there, or?
It kind, I guess you could say that, but at the same time, it was still a shootout. It's just that you could see that the Dolphins kind of did a little more with it. They only won by 2 points. You,
Mm-hmm.
it was just, I guess, luck of the draw. You guys did not score when you really needed to at the end like that. Like they were matching them. Don't get me wrong. Like they started off within the first minute scoring with the Joshua Kelly 2 yard run, and then after that, they didn't score again until 3 minutes left, and then Tarique comes in at the end with another 4 yard pass from Tua that we were just talking about that last pass.
Mm-hmm. I mean, everyone. I know I saw everyone on Twitter complaining. Chargers find new ways to lose. Staley keeps, so I know a lot of Chargers fans are mad at that. It's week one against a good Dolphins team. I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit and give them the benefit of the doubt and hope they figure it out. But they gotta figure it out soon if they want to be among the AFC elite because this conference is just too loaded.
The AFC is most definitely going up.
hmm It was just an incredible shootout of a game.
Most definitely. I just feel like some things need to be utilized a little more. Some things have to be fixed.
hmm
It's week one. Everything gets looked over in film.
But yeah, we'll move on to the next game: Rams versus Seahawks, and Rams really bounced back and have a convincing win over the Seattle Seahawks. They pulled away a lot towards that second half. Stafford looked great, especially like despite not having any touchdowns. You look at the box score, you'd say, he was okay. He actually looked pretty good. Kyron Williams had 2 touchdowns too. He looked pretty good. Surprising, he might become the real lead back over there. And who knows? Maybe this is the start of a Rams bounce back season. I mean, it was without Cooper Cup. The Seattle Seahawks were pretty good last year. I mean, they didn't look particularly great this game, but I'm the Rams are a weird wild card this year where I could see them, being a really good team, or I could see them in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. There's a large range for the Rams. I could see them going this season.
Most definitely. The the Seahawks really like messed up bad the whole second half. They didn't score.
Mhm.
That's where it all went downhill for them. There was not a single point from the Seahawks that whole second half. And Gino only had about 112 yards, 1 touchdown.
Mhm.
After that one touchdown in the second quarter, the Seahawks acted like it wasn't a game anymore, and they just stopped doing what they had to do.
He definitely
The
did
Rams,
not write back this game.
no, he did not right back. The Rams, as said before, are a very, very young team. There was talks about how Stafford had to was trying to learn everyone's name because there were so many rookies and free agents that just joined them.
That's true. There's a lot of young talent infused in here, especially with like a lot of the older guys too. Because some left, you still got guys like Aaron Donald, Stafford there, but it's a very new team. So
What
that's
if
kind of why I see it as a wild card team. Like they could be really good, or because they're young, they could be really bad. Like we just don't know. But they impressed week one. I was quite surprised.
Speaking of Aaron Donald, please find the clip of Aaron Donald rushing Geno Smith, and you hear Geno yell.
Maybe I'll have to
People were
look for that
saying
after the game or after the pod.
people were saying that's what true fear sounds like.
I think that'd be me too, man. If I had Aaron Donald chasing me, I'd probably be screaming too. I can't blame the man.
That was Seeing that had me dying. That's what true fear sounded like. You see Aaron Donald running at you full head of steam.
Hey, I'd be running the other direction. I won't even be there.
No, you throw the ball and you drop. You do not take that hit.
Hmm. But yeah, we'll move on to the next game now. We got the Philadelphia Eagles defeat the New England Patriots 25-20, and this was a really weird game to watch as an Eagles fan. Me as an Eagles fan, it looked like they're gonna blow them out in the first quarter. They had the pick six from Darius Slay, and then they had the Ezekiel Elliott fumble, and the Eagles capitalized, took a 16-0 lead, and the rails kind of started falling off in the second quarter. The Eagles' offense just did not look great. It was not as explosive as it was last year. There were some really weird decisions. Kenneth Gainwell is the main back, like the bell cow, pretty much. Like he had 14 carries. DeAndre Swift and Boston Scott only had one each. Rashad Penny was a healthy scratch. It was really weird. The offense just looked really weird. The Patriots absolutely shredded their defense in the second quarter. Especially once Nakobe Dean left too. He was their linebacking core has always been really thin, and that middle of the field just got shredded by Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki. So it was a weird game to watch. It felt like the Eagles' play calling wasn't there. They have new coordinators, so that could be an explanation. But it was an odd game. It was a game they should have lost because both teams just were making bad decisions. You had Bill Belichick go for it on fourth down. You had the Eagles go for it on fourth down and not make it. So it was a really weird game.
Yeah, I didn't really get to watch this game because I was watching other games, but
Hmm.
yeah, from what I've saw was the Eagles did start off a little hot, and then second quarter they busted off the rails but came back with a bunch of field goals.
Hmm.
Good job if anybody had Jake Elliott as their
Yeah,
fucking kicker of
exactly.
fantasy this week. But after that, it was basically they just had to hold it down to make sure the Patriots couldn't keep doing what they were doing.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you said, there were a lot of field goals, and it was a lot of the Eagles' offense just not finishing drives. And I feel like a lot of people were chalking that up to Brian Johnson, first year coordinator. A lot of weird plays. I mean, Hurts had some really bad missed reads in the third quarter too. Like that could have really iced the game away earlier. He had that really bad fumble in the fourth quarter too, where he just got absolutely leveled. So, like I said, it was a weird game. The Eagles should have probably lost that game because they like really almost gave the Patriots like they gave them a real opportunity to drive down the field after not converting that fourth down, and they just made a lot of other mistakes. But Mac Jones looked great. I do got to give him credit. He had 3 touchdowns. He was shredding the middle of the field. The Eagles' biggest weakness. Kendrick Bourne actually looked great. Matt Patricia needs to be fired into the sun for for limiting Kendrick Bourne all of last season. It was just, come on, man. This guy had talent, and he finally got to show it. So I'm a win's a win. I'm happy as an Eagles fan, but if I'm and
Wins a win.
we'll get to them later, but they do not look like the best team in the NFC. If I'm talking week 1 overreactions, the Cowboys definitely looked better and the 49ers definitely looked better, but we'll get into the 49ers later, of course.
Wins a win.
Yes, sir. But we'll move on to the next game. We had the Raiders and the Broncos. I'll be honest, this is not one I really got to watch because there were just so many other games on during the time, like Chargers, Dolphins, Eagles,
I didn't watch
Patriots.
this one
But
either.
I mean, Raiders defeat the Broncos 17-16. There just wasn't a lot working for Russell Wilson. Like 27 for 34, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. Didn't make any mistakes, but just his best receiver was like Sutton, but then he was spreading the ball out a lot. No one really could get downfield from what I was able to kind of see. I'm glad to see Javonte Williams back. But yeah, just
Jimmy G didn't look half bad out there,
no,
though.
he did not. He had the 2 touchdown passes to Jacoby Myers that made fantasy me really happy and really sad because I had him on my bench. But that's good going forward. He's in concussion protocol now. We're hoping the best for him. I mean, the offense didn't look bad. I mean, especially just looking at the box score here. But I mean, it's. I feel like it's your typical. I'm not trying to like be that guy, but it's your typical Raiders Broncos game.
It was basically a normal game that they kind of went head to head in, but didn't
Mhm.
really have much like, oh my gosh, just happened during this game. They didn't really have much of that happening in this
Mhm.
one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jimmy G looked all right in his first game. That's kind of what I expect from Jimmy G. So as long as he's leading the Raiders to wins, that's a success in my book. I hope the Jacoby Myers connection's really good. Adams had 6 for 66 too. I mean, it'll get better with time. Broncos were without Judy too, which I think definitely would have helped them out a lot. Russ didn't look particularly bad. I mean, so who knows? It's possible Russ has a bounce back season. It's week 1. I'm gonna give it time, and if Judy's back next week, I am still excited for what the Broncos can do.
Most definitely.
hmm But I'll move on to the next games: Titans and Saints. And this game was interesting in so many aspects. Tannehill had 3 picks. I mean, the Titans really threw the game away.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Like I said, Derek Carr looked all right in his first game with the Saints. Box score doesn't look particularly great, 305, 1 touchdown, but when it came to the end, he was able to salt the game away. It was a lot of field goals throughout this game, but I was really impressed by the Saints receivers. Olave looked great throughout the whole game. Michael Thomas had a couple really nice catches. Shaheed had a really nice end zone catch too. So, I mean, I'm more excited for the receivers there. I think Derek Carr has a lot of weapons. It's the first game. He's getting his feet wet. He did what he had to do to win. I'm not gonna look at the box score and overreact and be like, it's because I saw a lot of people like it's mid versus mid. Who cares? But I mean, I still think the Saints can be a good team. I'm excited going forward, especially when they get Kamara back. So we'll see. As for the Titans, oh man, it could be a rough year. It could be a rough year. I'm not gonna lie.
They got D-Hop, though. Remember that.
They got D-Hop. I mean, he didn't look bad, but man, I mean, Tannehill didn't
He
look
was
good.
their
I'll tell you
leading
that.
receiver.
Yeah, but Tannehill didn't look good. The 3
No,
picks, they
Tannehill.
could not. It was field goal after field goal after field goal. They just could not convert in the red zone. They could not, make their way downfield. I mean, you got to finish
They're
drives.
they're just relying too much on Derrick Henry and now D-Hop to do all the work, but with just 2 people, it's not that hard for a defense to cover that.
I did see an interesting stat too. I'm not gonna overreact to it either. I think I saw the backup running back, I think Spears, he had every single third down. Like, he was in on every single third down and matched snaps with Henry throughout the game, or they were close. I don't remember. But obviously, there's a big carry discrepancy, 15 versus 3. So I'm not really looking at that and going crazy, but I did find that a little interesting. I don't know. I mean, the Titans, they're a weird team that I can see anywhere from wild card to, okay, this team got 7 wins. Cool. Like, I'm just not a big believer in Tannehill, but we'll see going forward.
Not really a big believer in Tannehill, but it is what it is.
hmm We'll move on to the next game, though. We have the 49ers and the Steelers, and my goodness, this game was a whooping from beginning to end. Um, Brock Purdy looked great. He had 2 touchdowns. He got rid of the ball quick when needed. He ripped that fumble away from TJ Watt. I don't know if you saw. Yeah, he really ripped that. He did not want to give that up, but I
No,
mean,
he didn't.
the 49ers offense just looked incredible. You have playmakers all over the place. You had Ayuk with those 2 nasty touchdowns. You still have Debo doing his thing. Kittle wasn't even really seen too much, but he's still there. And then McCaffrey, oh my goodness, what a bounce back game from him. 22 for 152 and a touchdown. He had that insane long run. And oh man, I mean, this 49ers offense looks scary. And if you have Brock Purdy getting rid of the ball quick, being smart with the ball, you're gonna be looking good for the season. Like I said, that right now they're looking like the best team in the NFC. It's only week 1, but they're looking like the best team.
Most definitely, and I'm not gonna lie, the NFC isn't really have much. I mean, of course,
It's a weaker
there's like their
conference.
hard. Of course, there's their hard aspects. Like, let's be real, the NFC East is a really hard conference and stuff like that. But this 49ers team really shows that they could, especially with Mr. Irrelevant there, they could do what they want.
Hey, put some respect on Brock Purdy's name, man. He ain't Mr. Relevant no more. He's Mr.
Uh,
Relevant.
Listen, man, he's Mr. Irrelevant, and he's showing that Mr. Irrelevant could do what everybody else could do, given the right weapons.
mm-hmm. The Steelers just, I mean, it's a good 49ers defense. I'm not gonna bury the Steelers here. I mean, Kenny Pickett, 2 picks. I mean, against one of the best defenses, they couldn't really get the run game going at all, especially because they were trailing from behind most of the game. So it doesn't really give you much of an opportunity. I'm gonna save my judgments for the Steelers. It's only week 1, and they played against one of the best teams in the NFL. So I will say a lot of people were picking the Steelers as an upset team because they thought the pressure would get to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, stone cold, man. He makes great
Josh
decisions.
Brock.
That's what you need from a quarterback. Great decisions, get rid of the ball quick, especially when he doesn't have overly exciting throw power or the athleticism. Hey,
Well,
make good
clearly the
decisions.
49ers saw something in Brock that most people didn't see, especially giving up Trey Lance.
hmm That's just crazy, man. That trade. I mean, that's a topic for another day. But 3 first-round picks and your quarterback's Mister Irrelevant. Oh my goodness, that's topic for another day. But we'll move on to the next game: Jaguars versus Colts, and this really felt like the resurgence of Calvin Ridley. I mean, it was. I was really glad to see Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley's connection throughout this game was incredible. The training camp reports were true. That was his favorite target throughout the game, and their offense looked pretty good. There were at times where Trevor Lawrence kind of like, I don't know, they should have put the Colts away a little bit earlier than they did, but they still ended up winning the game. Like I said, Ridley was great. Zay Jones was great. Lawrence was okay. Etienne had
I was,
18 and 77 for a touchdown.
I was so upset. I had Zay Jones on my bench.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good for a third receiver on that team, that's pretty good third receiver to have. And then you still have Evan Ingram catching passes. There's a lot of weapons on this team. Etienne off out the backfield, Tank Bigsby in the backfield. I like this offense going forward. I think the more time they get, the more cohesion they get, they'll get better throughout the season, especially because they are so young. I think they overachieved a little bit last year, so expecting them to take that next step is kind of, I don't want to say not fair, but it's not guaranteed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, out of all the rookie quarterbacks, looked the best by far.
Oh no, most definitely. Anthony Richardson showed what he could do.
He had a couple really nice throws. He had a touchdown, a pick, but 223 yards. I mean, nothing about that sounds eye popping. But if you were watching the game, he had a couple really interesting plays. He really kept the Colts in that game. I think there's a lot of potential there. It's only week one, but against a good Jaguars team too. It's good that he was kind of going toe to toe with them for a while before the Jaguars pulled away in the fourth. It's promising after having the mediocre carousel of the last 4 or 5 years after Andrew Luck. So if I'm a Colts fan, I'm definitely happy with what I'm seeing at least week one.
And he's a rookie. He's going to improve, especially
Mm-hmm.
as the game evolves. He's gonna learn his people a lot more. Like he had 233 passing yards. He led the team in rushing yards. This is something you want to see as a Colts fan, especially after not having a really good run with QBs as of late.
That connection of Michael Pittman too is really nice. So I mean, he has a reliable receiver there, so that's always a great step to having a good rookie season. But yeah,
Definitely.
we'll move on to probably one of the more, I don't want to say boring games because it's actually pretty interesting, but it's a game not a lot of eyeballs were on. Commanders versus Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, who many are predicting to go like 0-17 and tank for Caleb Williams, actually were in this game and ahead for a while. Their defense was what impressed me the most. Zaven Collins was an absolute beast. I think he had a pick and I don't know if it was a fumble or sack. He had something crazy like that, but he was great and they surprised me. The Commanders looked really pedestrian throughout most of the game. Sam Howell just looked okay. There's not a lot to talk about here, but I mean, I was impressed by Zaven Collins from the Cardinals. I want to shout him out. Uh, Commanders won 2016. Nothing crazy. I mean, when you're playing a team like Arizona, eventually you're gonna. They just have more talent on their team, and the talent pretty much got them to win that game towards the end.
Yeah, most definitely. I give the Commanders their flowers. They did get the win, but this game wasn't all that.
It shouldn't
As
have
I
been
would say,
that close, I will say. Arizona really,
no.
really gave them a run
Arizona
for their
really
money.
pulled up. Exactly.
And it's not like Joshua Dobbs was great either for the Cardinals. Like, he wasn't particularly great. That offense wasn't moving. I think most of their points were from short fields and defensive, good defense. So, I mean, I just want to shout out the Cardinals for at least keeping it close. But yeah, moving on to the Panthers versus Falcons. The Falcons beat Bryce Young in his first game and continued the streak of, 20, 21 years now of the first overall pick losing in their first start.
Such an odd streak.
I was reading that the other day. I was like, no way. The last quarterback I think was David Carr for the Texan, which is just insane because it's not like he was a particularly great quarterback, but I mean, it was bound to happen. Get it out of the way, get the curse out of the way. I mean, obviously, for real analysis of this game, Bryce Young didn't look great. He threw 2 picks. A lot of the concerns coming out of college about him, being too short or being, it didn't look great for the first
I
game.
don't follow the whole short thing. Look at the whole thing about height doesn't really matter. We've had people in the
Well, a
past
lot of it, a
break
lot of
that
it is
barrier.
height, stature. They think he's gonna get injured, but I don't put as much stock into that. But a lot of people do. It's game one. It's just rookie season. I'm gonna remain reserved for now.
Another
I
thing,
don't think.
he's getting fed straight to the wolves.
hmm
Like, who is teaching him at Carolina as a veteran quarterback?
I thought he was the best quarterback in college last year. Like he should have gone number one. I don't know why it's like seen as controversial, but he's gonna need time to improve. It's not like this offense is particularly great either. I mean, when Miles Sanders is your best weapon, I mean, I guess even Adam Thielen, they couldn't really get this safety blanket and Adam Thielen going. I mean, you're not setting him up for super success. So I mean, we'll see going forward. This Panthers team is gonna be bad, but I just want to see flashes from Bryce Young throughout the year. Ritter did not look particularly great either, but they did enough to
Gosh.
win. Falcons fans hate Arthur Smith because my goodness, no targets for or no, not no targets, but no catches for Drake London. Kyle Pitts only had 2 receptions for 44 yards, and he wasn't targeted, I believe, to like the third or fourth quarter. Algier outran Bijan Robinson 15 touches to 10. Just a lot of very interesting decisions. I mean, they won the game, so I can't fault them, but
Most
I can
definitely would
I
have
can
gave the
feel
ball
I
to
can
Bijan a
feel
little more.
I can feel the Falcons fans pain right now. Like there's some very interesting decisions being made by Arthur Smith last year, this year not going on. It seems like we'll see. Hopefully, it's just week one. They were against an inferior Panthers team. Maybe we see more Jerry London. Maybe we see more Kyle Pitts. But man, that's it's interesting. I'll say, and that's nothing against Algier. I like Algier. He is a 1,000-yard rusher last year. He had 2 TDs this game. He's a good back. But my goodness, you drafted Bijan number 8 overall, giving him 10 touches. It boggles my mind. Use him more, man. But yeah, we'll move on to the next game. We got Buccaneers versus Vikings, and the Buccaneers actually upset the Vikings and win this game. This was probably one of the more shocking games, I'll say. Mayfield looked okay. I'm not gonna say he looked great, but I mean he did enough to win the game.
Mayfield.
He had a nice touchdown pass to Mike Evans. The Vikings really just underperformed this game. I mean that's a story of, I guess, it always seems to
I
be
was
the
watching this
story.
game. I'm gonna be real. Kirk Cousins was just throwing short passes that he did not need to throw. He still got 344 yards. Don't get me wrong, but there was passes that he just wasn't looking downfield.
Especially in the second half too, because like in that first half, like they were pushing the ball a lot to Justin Jefferson. After that, it kind of fell off. The run game couldn't get going. Madison had 11 for 34, and it makes you question, maybe should we have kept Cook? I mean, you don't want to pay him the money, that's fine, but it's not like Madison's the greatest option in the world.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I will say this: Jordan Addison looked really good. There's just, it feels inept at times. Like there's no reason they should have lost to this Buccaneers team. Like there is none. This Buccaneers team is not supposed to be great, especially under Baker.
Talks about Mike Evans wanting to leave, and then the Buccaneers come out and just win it.
I mean, we'll see going forward. I mean, Thursday's going to be a real test for them against Philly. If they go 0-2 against Philly, it's looking like it could be a long season for them because they weren't very hyped up going into the season. They had a lot of close games last year that went their way. If it's the inverse this season, it could be the difference between, 12-5 for them last season or 13-4. I don't remember exactly what they finished, and 7-10. Like that can be the difference right there. Yeah. So, but we'll move on. Texans versus Ravens. Not a lot to really discuss here. I mean, Lamar looked okay. They did enough to win. Unfortunately, I do want to mention the J.K. Dobbins injury. Just absolute devastating for the guy. I mean, he just cannot stay healthy. And to hear he's, his ACL or his Achilles? I can't remember off the top of my head. Point being, it's a season-ending injury.
ACL.
ACL, yeah. I feel for the guy, man. Especially before a contract year, that's tough. I mean, they handled business against the Texans at 25-9. Nothing crazy. CJ Stroud didn't look particularly great either, but it's his rookie game. I'm going to give him a pass. Even Dameon Pierce in the run game couldn't get going, but when you have a bad offensive game, that's typically what happens when, can't push the ball downfield. I mean, Nico Collins had a couple nice catches. He looks like he can be the real kind of security blanket for CJ Stroud, but other than that, I feel like there's not too much going on here. Now moving on to the Bengals game, and my goodness, this was a surprise to be sure. A lot of it is the weather. I will emphasize that. But the Bengals with another stinker in week one. Just another stinker in week one. Joe Burrow 14 for 31, 82 yards. They lost 3-24. Their offense just could not get going. I think last year he had 5 picks in week 1 too. So it's becoming the Bengals' yearly tradition, it feels like, to just not have a good week 1. They always start off the season rough and kind of pick it up as they go. So I'm not going to hyper-analyze and, trash them because Joe Burrow didn't play all preseason. He was injured. It's his first reps back. They were in the rain. It was bad weather. It makes sense. Should they have been that bad? Of course not, but
everybody makes these type of excuses, but the other team played in the same thing.
That is true, but also I will wager this. One team had Nick Chubb, so I mean, and Watson did not look good.
The other team had Joe Mixon.
Hey man, Nick Chubb is a lot. Let's chill. Nick Chubb is miles ahead of Joe Mixon, but I mean,
it doesn't matter. Both teams played in the same thing. You can't complain. You can't blame it on one thing.
Yes,
It's
but
like this all with the Super Bowl. All the field was ass. You were on the same field.
anyways. Sorry, you had Joe Burrow who hadn't played in multiple weeks. It makes sense. It makes sense, but they better come back next week and they better get it together. Let's just put it like that. But yeah, one more thing I wanted to point out too. Deshaun Watson had that horrendous pick. That was one of the worst picks I've seen in a while, where he just threw it straight to the Bengals defender. Both QBs did not look particularly great this game, but like I said, I expect the Bengals to bounce back. Plus, the Browns have seemed to have the Bengals numbers anyway, so I'm
Yeah.
not too concerned about this, but gotta get it together, Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, Cincinnati, I don't know what's going on over there. You guys just paid Joe Burrow, and it looked like he just took the day off after that.
He said, "It's my day off." All right, last and not least, we have Thursday Night Football, Kansas City versus Detroit Lions. We'll keep this one brief because it was a while ago, and I feel like it's been beaten to death.
Mm,
What happened?
what a game.
No, it
What
was
a
definitely
game.
a game. Yeah. Um, like I said, the Dan Campbell Lions outplayed the Chiefs. It was a lot of just the receivers, specifically Kadarius Toney, let him down. There was a lot of people upset about
God.
the tackle for the Chiefs and the false starts or whatever, but that wasn't enough to beat the Lions. I mean, they had one heck of a game. They had forced turnover against Mahomes. They were able to capitalize at the end, and I'm happy for this Lions team.
I am too. And let's go back to the Chiefs receiving core real quick. Kelsey was out. Don't get me wrong. That's a major part
Yes.
of the Chiefs. But come on, someone has to catch the ball. Someone has to make a place. Where was Sky Moore during this? Kadarius Toney was just dropping every pass that went to him. He got what, one catch now and zero yards after it.
And it was more of like a toss, not really a catch. It just counted as a,
Yeah.
you
So
know, it was not
like,
good.
what happened there? Like, I'm looking at the Chiefs stats right now. Patrick Mahomes still somehow had 226 passing yards with all this, but Mahomes led this team in rushing yards.
hmm
Rushing wasn't there. Pacheco didn't show up. Edward Hilaire wasn't showing up. Like, your QB that's not known for being well, he's known for running, but he's not the person that's run first.
He ain't Lamar Jackson. I'll
He ain't
say
Lamar
that.
Jackson. He ain't Mike Vick. He ain't Daniel Jones. He's not supposed to be running. He's
Mm.
someone that's supposed to sit a little bit more comfortable throwing the ball like he does. Because Patrick Mahomes has one of the best arms and accuracy in the league, and you guys just weren't catching it. So it came to the point where he started running it himself.
hmm It was definitely disappointing from that perspective, but I'm not worried. They'll get Kelsey back probably in week 2 because they had like what is it, 11 days in between games. So I think they'll be fine. Kelsey comes back. It's same as last year, kind of. I mean, they need someone like because they had Juju last year. They're gonna need that one guy who really steps up. I feel like at receiver, kind of be
They need
Valdez
someone to step up.
Scantling.
I thought it was gonna be Sky Moore, and Sky Moore didn't get a single reception.
Still early. I'm not willing to count him off. Maybe Tony, just because like I'm willing to maybe count him off just because like the drops and if there's a big mental aspect to it, and maybe just doesn't get the snaps going
It is
forward.
Twitter after that.
You had guys who played decent though, like Rasheed Rice had a couple decent catches. Same with Justin Watson and Scantling. My question is, who's really gonna take that leap and be at least what Juju was for them last year? Because it's not like Juju was a world beater or anything, but he was pretty good. He was, he came up big in some games, so they're just gonna need really that second target, and Mahomes can work with the rest going forward.
Yeah,
But once
we'll see
again,
what happens.
shout out to
But
the Lions. Shout out Aiden Hutchinson too, because I did not mention him. He was great in the first half before all the false starts. But
although another thing with the Lions, you draft Jameer Gibbs in the first round, and you have David Montgomery leading this team with almost, no, yeah, triple the amount of carries.
I will say I think it was more them trying to ease him in. They did pay Montgomery a lot of money, so it doesn't surprise me he's the lead back, especially because Gibbs was there a lot on third down, receiving the ball. I think it doesn't surprise me. I think it'll
I
become
don't,
more of a split backfield the further into the season it
I,
gets, but
I don't know. I just felt like it was dumb. Like there was a whole thing going around. Jameer Gibbs, 18-yard run. All right, let's
mhm.
give it to David Montgomery 3 times
I
for
felt
4 or 5, and then 4 and out.
I felt the same way watching the Jets game yesterday with Dalvin Cook and Brees Hall, but running back rooms are always interesting like that. They happens all the time. So it's week one. I think they're trying to work a committee in there and work the rookie in slow. I'm not going to over hyper analyze it, but we'll see going forward.
I don't know. I feel like this is gonna end up being a Swift slash Williams type of backfield again that
Yeah.
they're trying to run.
Gibbs definitely has the talent too. I love. I mean, box score doesn't jump out like I said, but he looked really good on his runs. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for him going forward. But yeah, that's all the games for week one. And like I said, there were some big surprises. There were some not so big surprises. But one thing I wanted to do before we close off today, too, I'm going to say three. Let's give our top three players for week one. And kind of going forward, do you think they realistically have a chance for MVP? Or do you think it's week one overreactions? Like, relax, it's still going to be Mahomes, Josh Allen, I just want to get your take kind of on that. I'll give you a second to come up with your three players, but I think I got mine.
Well, then why don't you start?
All right. So, number one, I think, is Tarique Hill. He had that insane 200-yard game. Uh, if he keeps on pace and has 2,000 yards, I get it. Receivers never win the award, but it's at least got to be a conversation. If he's at 2,000 yards and the Dolphins are in playoff territory, I'm going to double dip here and say Tua as well, just because I don't want to disrespect him. 400, 66 yards? Just
Yeah, about
ins-
that.
insane, man. I did not expect him to have as great of a game as he did coming back. So I want to give him a shout out. And then Brock Purdy, man. I don't know what his odds are, and I'm not gonna overreact because it's not like he set the world on fire. But if he leads the 49ers to like a 13-4, 14-3 record, and he has 30 touchdowns, not a lot of picks, and he's really willed this team, and he can be in those talks, man. It sounds insane, and it's a week one overreaction, so I get it. I'm not betting and saying it's gonna happen, but it's a possibility. Now, you could also wager, okay, well, McCaffrey would probably get it because he might have an insane season too. That's true, but I'm going to have to see it from him just because there's the health thing with him. But if I had to pick three people, those would probably be my three right now. I hope I didn't
Yeah,
steal. I hope I
uh,
didn't steal. I
no, you
probably.
stole all three of mine.
I think those are
I
the
had
three we
Tyreek and
talked
Tua
about.
down. Yeah, it was. I had Tyreek and Tua instantly down, and then the last one was gonna be Purdy because he did show up again.
I want to give Jordan Love another shout out too, though, just because he was great. I mean,
Oh, most definitely.
If the Packers look amazing this season and they're like a 12-win team, I mean, hey, we've seen it before. I mean, players make that jump in 1 year. It happened with Mahomes, where he was kind of like, okay, you're gonna be the starter this year, and then he really popped off. Maybe Jordan Love, similar situation. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but at least be on the lookout for it.
Yeah.
Before we go, we'll pull up the week two matchups and we'll just give our quick little takes on who we'll think will win. Nothing too crazy, but first matchup we got Vikings and Eagles. I think we both kind of have a feeling where this is gonna go, but I got the Eagles winning just because the Vikings didn't look particularly great. It's a short week and neither did the Eagles look great, but I'm still gonna go with the experience with the Eagles and say they win that game.
Yeah, I forgot the Eagles going into this game. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the Eagles are gonna pick up their and do what they had to do.
Mm-hmm. Second we got Ravens Bengals, and this one's gonna be a really good one. 1 o'clock game too. That sucks because there's a lot of games going on. I want to keep my eyes on that one specifically. It's gonna be a little tough, but I think the Bengals bounce back. I don't see them going 0-2 and playing as poorly as they did, but it, not to disrespect the Ravens or anything, but I just can't see it.
I actually got the Ravens
The
starting off
Ravens,
2-0 this season.
I respect it.
I feel like the Ravens figure it out with Dobbins being gone and go a little bit more in depth with their receiving core.
I think I will say I think the Bengals did start off 0-2 last year, so it's definitely a possibility. I'm gonna pick the bounce back there. Next we got Seahawks and Lions. Lions playing at home. I think I'm gonna go the Lions on that one.
also have the Lions on this one,
I mean,
especially after what we saw with the Seahawks
mhm.
this past week. And the Lions are here. The Lions showed that they're here to fight.
Yep, they have a longer rest week too. Seahawks offense didn't look particularly great. I'm going Lions on that one. We got Colts Texans next, and I think I'm gonna go with Colts. It's a rookie QB showdown. Anthony Richardson looked great. I could see him shining in that game.
I don't see why the Colts shouldn't win this game. Anthony Richardson showed he could do what he has to do.
hmm
It's going to be two rookie quarterbacks going against each other. Let's be real here.
hmm
It's all going to rely down to receiving core and rushing yards. And I feel like Anthony Richardson is going to be able to hold up the passing and giving his receivers what they really need. And then it's just going to come down to, oh man, who is it that's coming back off of an injury that's running for them? Zach Moss.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's multiple injured Colts running backs, so I wasn't sure what you were
Zach
talking
Moss is
about.
coming off of a broken arm from last year, and I feel
Okay.
like they're getting ready to throw him out there. So I feel like
hmm
he's gonna show them what he can do.
Man, I didn't realize their whole running back core was injured. Yikes. But
Yeah.
yeah. Moving on to the next one. Bears Buccaneers. This is a tough one just because I don't really love either team going forward. I'm gonna go with Bears and Justin Fields. I'm gonna say he gets the job done and they improve to 1-1, but not
As much as
necessarily.
I hate to say it, I'm going Bucks with Mike Evans. I
I,
have Mr. 1,000 yard receiving going and getting another win.
I I could see it going either way. If I had to pick, it's the Bears, but I'm not too crazy about that pick. Um,
I have
next.
Rashad White, Mike Evans doing what they have to do.
hmm next game, Chiefs and Jaguars. There's no way the Chiefs start off 0-2. Sorry, Jacksonville, but Kelsey's back, and that's if Kelsey's back. Let me preface that.
Kelsey's back, I go with the Chiefs. If
Yes,
Kelsey's not
exactly.
back, I have the Jags.
I think yeah.
Chris Jones did just accept his one
Yeah,
year
and
deal, so
Chris
their
Jones will
defense
be
is getting
back,
buffed back
so
up.
they're not losing that game. I
Yo, they
promise you
saw
that.
how bad it was, and they're like, "Yo, we gotta bring him back, please."
Packers Falcons. That's an interesting one too. I think the Jordan Love show continues, and Packers get a win in Atlanta.
That's exactly where I'm leaning towards. Jordan Love
Mm.
showed what he needs to do, and well, Aaron Jones did just get hurt, or was it AJ Dillon that got hurt?
I don't know. I'd have to fact check that, but I think I'd still go. I'd still go probably Packers on that one.
Yeah, I still go Packers, but one of them is hurt, and it's big difference between which one is hurt.
Next game, Raiders versus Bills. I'm gonna have the Bills bouncing back. I can't see them starting 0-2.
I cannot
Also,
see the Bills going 0-2.
I like Jimmy G, but he ain't winning against the Bill. I'm not
Bills are
taking
not
him
going
over
0-2 after
Josh
that.
Allen. Yeah, especially after losing to Zach Wilson. No way. And they're in Buffalo. Yeah, no. Chargers versus Titans. I think the Chargers bounce back and defeat the Titans. Hopefully we get a Justin Herbert masterclass, but yeah, I don't really think there's
I
much more to
fully
that one.
expect the Chargers pull back. Chargers
Mhm.
losing 2 times in a row. No way in hell.
Eckler is questionable though. I will throw that out, but I think he's
I
gonna
mean,
play.
Eckler being questionable, they have a good enough offensive line where a running back should be able to fill in the
Joshua
spot if
Kelly
he's
had
not there.
a really good game too in week 1, so I don't think that moves the needle for me either. 49ers Rams. This one can be very interesting. I'm still going to go 49ers, but I would not be shocked if the Rams pull off the upset because they are in LA and the Rams looked good
Shock
last year.
rock.
I'm I'm still going to go 49ers, but I'm hesitant a little.
Brock Purdy still has not lost a regular season game.
Yeah, that's something. Oh my goodness. Okay, you know what? You got me. I'm going 49ers. I'm not even going to second. All right. This one, I swear if the Giants lose this one.
You're
Giants
looking at what I'm
versus
looking at?
Cardinals,
Yeah.
yeah.
If the
Giants versus
Giants lose, bro, I don't know which jersey's going up in flames, but I got quite a few in there.
Giants should demolish the Cardinals. I'm sorry. I know I talked about how good their defense was against the Commanders. It's the Commanders, man. The Giants better put on a show against them,
Bro,
or we're gonna
if
have
the
some
Giants do
serious
not bounce back from
conversations.
this, I need them to go into that office figuring out who's being fired.
They're gonna have to go on a darkness retreat.
I'm going on a darkness retreat for real.
Jets versus Cowboys. Going Cowboys there would have been a lot more interesting if Rodgers was there, but obviously that's not the case. I don't think Zach
I don't
Wilson's
want to talk
going.
about this game. I
Zach
got
Wilson.
Cowboys.
Zach Wilson's not going into Jerry World and beating them. Commanders versus Broncos. Wow, this is mid versus mid. Sorry,
I got
that's
Broncos.
Broncos. Yeah, Russ is gonna cook.
Broncos country. That's right.
Especially if Judy's back. Yeah, I got Broncos. Patriots and Dolphins. This one's an interesting one. They're in
I have the Dolphins. There's
Foxborough.
no interesting for me. I have Dolphins.
I'm gonna go with the upset just because they're in Foxborough and say the Patriots, but I'm not like I'm
It
not.
doesn't change for me. After that last game with Tyreek Hill and Tua, if they continue that, I got Dolphins.
I just see it.
I don't care where you're at.
I have a hard time seeing Bill going 0-2 in his own home stadium, but we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if the
Bill isn't
Dolphins win
the old.
either.
Okay, I'm not even gonna say that because Bill Belichick is one of the greatest
You're about to
coaches.
diss
But
Bill, man. Get all
I
the
was
hate
about to.
comments.
I was about to, but I can't. Bill Belichick has pulled shit out of his ass that people will never see. But I have the Dolphins winning this, no doubt. What is this is the Sunday night game? Yeah, I have the Dolphins.
All right.
I have Tyreek Hill showing out.
Saints versus Panthers. I got the Saints winning. I think they'll go on to 2-0. They just have more
Yeah, I feel
talent
like
than this Panthers team.
Derek Carr is gonna get more used to this team and do what
hmm
he has to do.
It's Monday night game too. They have two Monday night games. Wow,
Yeah, there's gonna be 2 Monday night games this week, but
that's awful. Right, an hour away from each other.
yeah,
Ugh.
I have the Saints taking this one. I feel like Derek Carr is gonna lean more into this team. Jamal Williams is gonna break out for more yards. I have Saints on this one.
And then last game, Browns Steelers. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Steelers. I think I'm gonna go. I feel like I'm disrespecting the
I,
Browns a little bit, but
as
I like
much
that
as I
defense a
want to go
lot.
with Steelers, I feel like they're not using George Pickens as much as he should be used.
I think they'll get more of a chance though, especially if the weather permits. But
NFL young boys should be used.
like I said, I think that Steelers defense can give the Browns some trouble. So I'm just gonna go Steelers.
I got Browns taking this. Nick Chubb is most definitely going to be the weight of this team, and hopefully Deshaun Watson could pick up what he didn't really do much of last game.
hmm But those are our predictions for week 2. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up here, Tarique? Or
I didn't realize how many games had so much rain in it.
there was a few that had some rain and some conditions. It's a reason why a lot of, especially the 1 p.m. games, they got off to slow starts. So I mean,
We could do this. We brought up the MVPs. We could talk about like early predictions for other awards.
eh, I don't know if there's anything like I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, T.J. Watt had an insane game 1, so maybe Depoy there, but so did Micah Parsons. I mean, there's not a lot.
We'll save it for
Yeah,
mid-season.
maybe we save mid-season award picks, and they'll give us a little more to work with there.
Yeah, most definitely.
But yeah, I think we'll start wrapping up the pod here. Thank you for joining and listening to us. I know it's been a while since we had one of these pods, but with the NFL season back in full effect and NBA starting soon, we should be getting a lot more of these out regularly. So, yes.
NBA, the redeem team.
Oh my god. Yes, I do want to. We'll tackle that before we leave too, actually, because my goodness, Germany,
Oh,
Germany winning the FIBA World Cup. Y'all done messed up. Y'all done messed. Y'all awakened the
y'all
beast.
woken LeBron. My
Joke.
king is back.
They're bringing the Avengers. They were making
Bro,
jokes on
LeBron was
Twitter.
like, yeah, no, I'm coming back.
They were making jokes. The guy who called out Team USA, Noah Lyles or whatever, they were all making jokes like, "Yep, you done awoken the Avengers. You messed up for the Olympics." I mean, God, that
Someone said LeBron saw Dylan Brooks drop 40 and said it's time to come back.
no, literally, that's just crazy. That could be the best Olympic team of all time. Like, I'm not even trying to exaggerate. Like, we had the 1990. Was it the 1992 or 1996? It's one. I think it was 92. It was 92. It was 92
Was it 92?
because Bird was still playing, and there's no way it was 96. So it was 92 Dream Team with what was it? Jordan, Pip, Jordan,
Jordan,
Pippen,
Bird,
Bird, Magic.
Pippen, Johnson. Yep.
And then you had the 2012 one with I think you had like
LeBron,
LeBron, Dwayne
Kobe.
Wade, Chris Bosh, Kobe, Melo, Dwight Howard. Like that was an insane team too. But this one has a chance
Oh,
to
it's
even
definitely gonna it's it's gonna be top two, and it's not number two.
this one has a chance to even beat that. Like LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin
Yeah, there was
Durant,
Grant, Devin
Anthony
Booker,
Davis, Devin Booker, Damian
Anthony
Lillard,
Davis. Like,
Jason
there's so many
Tatum.
people.
Whew.
After LeBron said, "Yeah, I'm coming," there were a lot of people. I was like, "Yeah, no, it's time to do it."
I'm interested too because I don't think Curry's ever played on a Olympic team before, so that would be fun.
Why?
I was shocked to hear about it. I have to look like for 2020 and 2016, but I don't think he has. I think a lot of it too has to do with he's always in the finals. Like in 2016, I think he was in the finals, and the Olympics was like a month after, like couple. It was a couple weeks after, so if I remember correctly, so that might be part of it. But this is gonna be very. They done messed up. I'm excited to see that going forward. But yeah, we'll wrap up the pod here though. Thank y'all for joining us. We're gonna be trying to do one of these at least weekly for the NFL because we got a lot of stuff to cover week to week on the NFL. So if you enjoy the pod, tune in weekly to join us. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Tariq?
No, I think we talked about everything that we really had to.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to look forward to in sports in the upcoming time.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank y'all for tuning in and have a great one.